Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash
Skills can be taught. Character, you either have it or you don't.
and Dale Hummel.
What about the Richmond, north of Richmond?
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, it's been an eventful week, and I have not seen a lot of it.
Civil War. That's where
Is that
Civil
War?
Yes.
With
That's it.
Trump and 18 others are to turn themselves in to the Georgia DA at the Rice Street Jail. Street Jail by Friday. When this drops, he has to have turned himself in.
And if they put him in a jail cell, if they put Donald Trump in a jail cell, and hold him there, that is when the Civil War is going to start.
This is the confusion from my standpoint. I have not heard anybody talk about that happening. But when there's that many charges, in theory, I assume that would happen. But nobody's mentioned it, so it can't be.
Oh, they've said that they're going to make him have a mugshot, which none of the other ones have done. So that's enough right there. But when people are charged with this many crimes or this many indictments, don't they usually hold them? I don't know, but this is all bullshit anyway.
Yes, I agree. What I'm saying is it's frightening that this is even a possibility.
I'm just warning you people right now. I'm telling you, they put him in jail and it's on. It's here. Screw the American Revolution, whatever you want to call it. This is it.
I am actively seeking out the purchase of more guns.
I am just telling you, I am not joking. I am not being funny. I am genuinely concerned.
And you should be. Oh. I think you're in pretty good shape in Crockett, Texas. I'm in pretty good shape until they start drifting out of Chicago.
No, I don't. I'm telling you, I would get your kid out of there, out of that town.
No, I am with you.
Dylan has got to get out of there.
So why has there been so little coverage about what could happen on Friday?
I think because they don't know what these crazy people in Georgia are going to do.
I think it must be a situation where he comes in, he gets his mugshot, and they send him on his way. They cannot hold him. They cannot, even though my interpretation of the law with that many indictments, yes, they can, but they cannot. How's that sound?
I am very, very on edge about everything. And again, these people, God love them. So, and again, I don't necessarily believe in polls. I don't think all these things, but what all of this is doing, for instance, this is how crazy the Georgia people are. The DA wants I don't even know.
Girlfriend.
No, not my girlfriend. She wants the Georgia trial to start the Monday before Super Tuesday. Now, that is election interference at the highest and most obvious level in the world. The Republican nominee will probably, most likely, be decided on Super Tuesday. And she wants this trial to start that Monday before. If the judge signs off on that, there's some bullshit.
I think it's election interference from step one already.
It is. But this just, and all this is doing, I do not understand how these people don't see it. It is concreting his supporters, giving him more. And there are people that I'm telling you, I have talked to people that despise Trump, that think he is literally a terrible human being, that you know what? I'm not saying I'm going to vote for him, but now I am considering it more than anybody else because there is a reason they are doing all of this. That's how bad they want him out of office. There's got to be a reason.
I'm sure there is. Well, there's something that I saw that was disturbing a few days ago.
What?
The general election polls are still favoring Biden against any of the Republican candidates, including Trump, by 3 points. Now, I get that he's going to have a bigger turnout.
Can I bring something up, sir?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you know at this very, because I saw that poll and I heard it.
Did it not disturb you a little?
Did you must have been watching Fox because you didn't listen to Jake Tapper on CNN. So
I did not. No.
that's right. 3 points. 44-41. Biden versus Trump. Do you know at this time in the 2020 election cycle what the difference was?
Much larger spread.
11.
Yeah. And I believe think about it. When you and I get a phone call to take a poll, I think fewer conservatives.
I have never got one of those.
No, I haven't. To my now, I may have.
I am very disappointed. I would pull my ass off. Let me tell you.
I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. And I don't think that they can possibly calculate all the bullshit that's been thrown at Trump, just like you were talking about, that is going to get out the vote. There will not be a conservative person in this country that does not vote.
Well, one of the best.
And if they
points
don't, they deserve to be hung.
One of the best points that another person brought up to me was in 2016, suburban women and independents primarily got Trump elected, but there was also this thing called the silent Trump voter that if you talk to them or whatever, they said, oh no, they would never vote for Trump, but they actually did. And that is probably going to be more prevalent now than it was even in 2016 because it is so dramatic and so chaotic and so uncharted territory on everything. The silent Trump voter is going to be a more real thing this time than ever before.
That might even be enough to overtake that poll, even though I do not believe the poll is correct. Not even taking into consideration the turnout, just that in itself may be enough.
Mm. I just hope he goes to the debate, but I'm afraid he's not going to. But I really hope he does.
Considering what's going to go on this week, we are recording on a Sunday evening, so the listeners have a little better concept that we do not know what's going to happen at the debate Wednesday. Trump is not going. I know that.
You do not know that. He has not made that announcement.
He does not appear to be going. I hope
he has not said he's not going.
I know the people in Iowa would like to see him at that debate.
I would like to see him at the debate.
I think it opens the door for Biden to not debate at all if he skips this. It shouldn't, but it will. And that is not a good place to be.
No, and of course now, since it's coming down to it, all these people that said, oh, if he doesn't debate, he's not a legitimate candidate. Now that Vivek Ramaswamy, whatever his damn name is, the rapper buddy that you like so much. Yeah, now he's like, oh, it's perfectly fine if President Trump doesn't debate. I think it's right up par for him to miss the first two because that will give us a chance to introduce ourselves to the country without him there. Everybody knows what he stands for, yada, yada, yada. Kiss my ass.
I'm telling you, I have only listened to him a little.
I don't like him.
I did not like the rap event.
I don't like him
at all, but I appreciated some of his policy.
I don't like him.
Mostly because it wasn't a lot different than Trump's.
I'm going to listen to him on Wednesday, but I'm going to tell you, I don't think I like this person. But
I think he's going to come across well-spoken and intelligent.
Uh-huh.
That is my prediction.
See about that.
And this will drop afterwards, so I could sound like a fool by Friday.
I hope that we get to be on the circus after the debate. That's my hope.
I think we just need to do it.
Yeah, that's my hope because, again, I got a lot. I have a lot to say about all these people.
There's so much going on politically and non-politically. But before we leave from the idea of the possibility of civil unrest when they hold Trump in the Rice Street Jail in Georgia, Jim Bob, if you're listening, I need those guns. I need them sooner. Speed up the order.
I'm just telling you, I think there's lots. And then, so Jake Tapper, he's having a low moment, and I know you don't.
Listen, how could you make yourself?
Because I find this fascinating. I do.
I don't.
So Jake Tapper evidently was one of the moderators on one of the debates back in 2020 between Biden and Trump or whatever. And so Trump said during that debate that Hunter had literally made millions and millions and millions of dollars from all these foreign nations and all this other stuff. And I guess Jake Tapper told him that he couldn't say that. It was wrong, all this other stuff. He has now gone on CNN and said that he has to apologize and that Trump was right. everything he said about Hunter and his business dealings and all this was absolutely correct, and that Jake Tapper was wrong.
And he still works for CNN?
Yes. How about that?
Are you sure you weren't delusional? Or
Yeah,
maybe
you
had
can go
been
watch it.
drinking a little bit?
You can go watch it. It's on there.
If that is accurate as you present it, that's impressive.
I was shocked. I was like, holy hell. And so, but yeah, there are more and more every day, and it's all over Fox, but you'll hear just a little tidbit in the other ones where they hint at the fact that Biden may not be the nominee by the end of the year. Shocking.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question that relates to this. Let's put you as a advisor to the Communist Chinese Party. Okay, that's what you are right now.
Oh, good.
And they are listening to you, by the way.
Are they paying me?
They will if you have any influence.
Perfect.
Okay, so if you're advising or somebody in charge or somebody that has influence in the CCP, and you're taking let's turn the clock back a few years, whatever amount we want, doesn't matter. And you're looking at where are we vulnerable? Who can they approach, or who is the likely target where they can get influence and or blackmail someone that's going to be in political power? Does that make any sense to you?
I guess I don't know what you're asking me.
What I'm getting at is it's very apparent. I think everybody already realizes. I just want to shed light on it. When you have somebody like Hunter, a crackhead, crazy, whatever you want to call him, obviously they are paying attention to these things. We can both agree on that. They target him. It appears as though
because he's vulnerable.
Very.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah. No, they're like,
at a
we can extort the crackhead. Yes. No.
And it was easy, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Minimum of 20 million came through Hunter to the Biden family from the Chinese Communist Party. We have those documents, and that is fairly well, I guess, documented or proven. With that said, okay, his father, our buddy Sleepy Joe, Crazy Joe, Incoherent Joe, whatever you want to call him,
all those things. How
can he make a decision that benefits the United States and be hard on China when all of a sudden they can turn over anything, any record whatsoever that gets him impeached?
No, I think homeboy is literally, I mean, I don't want to be, he's in a sling because
there's no way he can make impartial decisions on China knowing that they have the blackmail material to get him out of office.
Oh yeah. Like, no, he is compromised the most. I mean,
no way he's put the best interest of the United States. Just look at his dealings with China from COVID all the way through the spy balloon to everything that's going on.
Oh, it's
the most compromised. And how come people just don't see it or say it?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like, first off, by and large, the mainstream media is in his pocket, and I don't think it's that they love Biden. I think they hate Trump and the Republicans that much. I think that is, it is not a love for Biden or his administration. It is just the hate overtakes. So they, keep him safe and try to not talk about it and stuff. But again, I mean, little by little, more each day, things are said and done on those other, mainstream media networks. But there are two things, and Clifton and I were talking about this before we started recording. I don't see how Hunter's still alive. I mean, and I am not being rude, and I am not saying I want the man to die, but like a whole bunch of these problems would go away if he just somehow was no longer living and breathing on this earth.
And obviously, Joe's not gonna push that.
No, but if that was Hillary's kid, that bitch would have been overdosed a long time ago. I mean,
this sounds terrible, but I'm surprised that somebody on the left hasn't done that.
There's something
just to clean things up.
I mean, you think about it. If he's out of the picture, the majority of this stuff goes away for Joe.
It makes it much better for Joe. That sounds terrible. We shouldn't even talk about that.
I'm just being honest.
Shoot him in the kneecap, hang him out to dry, put him in prison. All that.
I don't see.
You know what? I look at him Yeah, I think he's sold out our country. Do whatever you want with him. I'm good.
Yeah, but the and the other deal is, and I think until the Democrats coalesce behind somebody, and it's not going to be Kennedy, until they get behind somebody, then they're not going to completely sell Biden down the river. But as soon as they do all get their little circles in a wagon, whether it's Gavin, whether it's Hillary, whether it's Michelle, whoever
There's one that would actually be a threat, and you're not even mentioning him.
Who?
Kennedy.
But they're not going to coalesce behind him. They don't like him.
I
they
know,
hate him more than Republicans.
I'm telling you, he wins if they put him out there.
I agree, but they're too short-sighted.
Your boyfriend Gavin, he is not going to win.
No, he's not going to win.
And I believe that right now that is the direction it's going, unless Michelle or Hillary swoops in. And
again, until they decide, okay, this is it, then they're not going to completely sell Biden down the river. But when they do figure it out and decide this, I'm telling you, those people are going to trash that old man like you have never before seen, heard, or thought of. Trump will look like a damn saint compared to the shit they're going to say about Biden.
You want to know how much enjoyment I'll get out of that entertainment?
I'm going to record it.
I think it'll. I believe it'll happen.
Whatever the hell it is.
The problem is it does not seem as though they can figure out who they're getting behind, and it's time. They need to get that done.
I find it funny that at least one person on each network in the last week has said they have made this by the end of the year. So, like, is something in December going to happen that we don't know about that, they're going to be like, okay, Joe, you're going out there and you're telling them that you're done.
I think they pose it to him. He either goes out there and says he's not running, or
you're going to jail.
They turn on him like no tomorrow. I think that his wife will force him out there to avoid jail.
She can't be as dumb as he is. So
no, there's no way. I don't think he would even know. He doesn't even know where he's at.
No,
it is unbelievable.
No,
well, something more positive.
Okay,
can you try to explain to me how big space is? The universe,
to infinity and beyond.
Okay,
I don't know.
Now, help me wrap my head around it. Infinity, define it.
I don't know.
It's forever. It doesn't end.
Right.
It goes on. Can you put that in your head?
Yeah.
I can't.
Well,
what I'm getting at is there's infinite solar systems out there.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of talk about UFOs again lately.
Yes. Your favorite subject, aliens and UFOs.
Yes. And Lazar, I'm going to go from a negative first. Some of the things that Lazar talked about, I believe on Joe Rogan and a few other things about reverse engineering in one of the Air Force or military bases in Nevada, where there's several different ships that they were working on, all these things. I don't know that I can wrap my head around that, because if you stop and think about how many people were exposed to that, there is no way you could keep them all quiet. Impossible. Now, some of this TikTok stuff that we've actually got hardcore data, and not necessarily people, but radar, other devices that are going to detect and analyze these objects. That's something we've got to look at. And it's amazing the people that are coming out and talking about some of this now, that I'm just telling you, there is something to it. I don't know that it's a green alien. I don't know if it's, I hope it's the fact that we've got advanced technologies that they haven't announced to the public or the world yet. I don't know what it is, but there is no question there is something there. And if we think we have problems with China, we have problems with Russia, Ukraine situation, all of those things. If there's an unfriendly universe or UAP, whatever you want to call them, alien, we've got far bigger problems on our hand. And nobody seems to be worried about it.
Nobody's worried about it because they ain't contacted us yet. Now, as soon as they do, you're going to find the most paranoid, scared people in the history of the world.
So. The only salvation I have is if, and I'm not even saying they're absolutely out there. Okay. I'm open to, maybe it's China, maybe it's our own military. Maybe I know there's something out there moving around space like we don't understand. in our atmosphere and out on the East Coast and over some of our military bases. I know those things, there is something to that. I do not know what it is. The only salvation that I have is if it is from another planet, that they've probably been here for a very long time and for some reason have chosen not to destroy us. So I see no reason that they're going to decide to at this point, unless we were to act aggressively towards them. And we may be ignorant enough to do that.
Well, if the guy in charge makes any of the decisions, it probably would be.
I don't think they've told Joe any about it. I think they've ignored it with him. They've covered it under the rug. Joe doesn't know. Okay, we're long. Very long.
Yeah.
Do you have some
Yeah, I
positive
know.
BTR?
I do. Hold on. Let me find it.
Did you look through the list yet?
Just leave me alone. Okay. I got this. Okay.
I'm going to
Oh, wait,
apologize in advance.
No, I thought I had it, but I don't. Huh?
Who are we apologizing to? Sheep kids this week?
Senior
Goat kids? Cattle
goat.
kids? Sorry in advance, senior goat people.
You're so funny. So
There'll be
funny.
one. There will
First place right now, current standing, senior goat, BTRJLA, Audrey Poling of West Virginia. Second place, Echo Bartles of Colorado. Third place, Colby Wilson of Delaware. Fourth place, Isabel Lowry of Montana. Fifth place, Natalie Scholl of Iowa. Sixth place, Alexis Willis of Delaware. Seventh place, Sarah Brown of Indiana. Eighth place, Mason Calhoun of Oregon. Ninth place, Rihanna Wilson of Indiana. And 10th place, Kaylee Roach of Utah. Look at that.
I apologize.
That was just smooth as glass.
That was pretty lucky.
That's the only time it's been that way, but there you go. So we would like to give a shout out to our largest sponsor, Leonard Truck and Trailer. The Leonard family for the past 2 years have made overwhelmingly generous contributions to the BTRJLA. And at Leonard Truck and Trailer, we are dedicated to providing the best service, selection, and value. Our efforts are focused on meeting and exceeding our customers' expectations every single day because we know that our continued success relies on our ability to satisfy every customer. We are committed to being your one-stop trailer source with the largest selection of trailers in the nation, our on-the-spot financing, custom vinyl department, and in-house warranty department, and comprehensive parts and service department. It's apparent why we have proven ourselves to be the only place you need to go for all of your trailer shopping needs. Please look up Leonard Truck and Trailer if you're in need of a new show stock vehicle, and we appreciate Clint Leonard family greatly.
Clint, thank you very much for all the sponsorship. It's been overwhelming and appreciated. Well, it makes me smile, Ryan, when so many approach me while I'm out at shows to give positive feedback on their experience.
You know, they're just lying to you.
They may be, but they take the time to come and lie to me if that's the case.
There you go.
But I hear endless stories on Show Fresh H2O, positive feedback all the time. The more I go out, the more I hear about it. This is simple. You need to do everything possible to hydrate show stock, and Show Fresh H2O is one of those tools that will help get that done.
I don't think they lie to you about that. I think they lie to you about the podcast. But anyway.
Got it. That they like the podcast.
Yeah.
You can pick up Show Fresh H2O at your local farm store, supply trailer, or online at swampfox.com.
Thank you, Show Fresh H2O.
I did forget something on our current events that I don't know that it fits in current events, but I failed to tell you in person as well. Were you aware that Chase is no longer in the house? He is.
Yes, I'm very well aware because you sent me pictures of that god awful apartment you put him in. I call Child Protective Services, by the way. They should be there to interview you shortly.
It is just, I lived in far worse.
No.
I did. And by the time he and his mom got done decorating and the other roommates, it looks fine.
It does not. You are not convincing me of that shit right there.
So I believe he's enjoyed his first weekend at college, and you have there is a little bit of a problem that you're going to have to deal with this.
What?
When he's not in the home, I don't stay as grounded. I promise you. He does help with that.
Then we need to homeschool him from college. So get his ass back.
We need to do something. But today's topic, kids only. What on earth does that mean, Ryan?
I don't know, because this is your topic, so explain it to us.
It hit me last week sometime. I don't remember when. Maybe it's because Chase went off to college. I don't know what stimulated this. Maybe it's just the youth that I work with across the country and trying to guide them and advise them or watching how they're being raised. What I want to try to do, and I don't know, some aren't going to like this, some may love it. I don't know how this is going to come across. But those listeners out there, youth listeners, kids, stock show kids, whatever they may be, the goal of this episode is to give advice directed to you from Ryan and myself. The intent is to help lead a better life. This is not just about hanging more banners or obtaining financial, academic success. It's about everything, and it's to benefit you in all aspects of life. There is no question you've probably heard many of these things already, probably from your parents or other adults. And the issue with that is, and I think this is very clear, I see it with my own children, when it's coming from your parent, you don't always listen. Even though I promise you, everything a parent does is to try to better their children. It may be wrong, but it's with the best intent. I can assure you that there's no way it can't be. So with that said, there is so many things that I try to get across to my kids, or I see other families in the stock show industry, how they're raising their kids. Ryan, think about those families or those kids you've helped, whether you buy a steer for them and get them through the shows. There's a lot of guidance that you've given them to try to make them better people and succeed in the show ring. And I'm going to open it up where it's not just in the show ring, but it's just in life.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with that. And again, I think that something that you said is that when we hear it from a parent, we don't listen as much. And I'll be the first to tell you, I never listened to a damn thing that crazy ass woman Cherie just tried to say to me. So
I never even thought about that, but I guarantee you, she has said a lot of things that she did it for a reason.
I'm sure she did,
and it may not have been right.
I'm trying to tell you, I didn't listen to a damn word of it. But anyway,
but for the right purpose, for the intent was correct.
I'm sure she thought so, but again, she's not mentally stable. So
you are the perfect example.
Anyway, but I can just like a quick example. So we were at a show a million years ago, whatever, and I'm helping this family, and little boy's probably 11 or 12, and his dad tells him something that he's got to do when he's showing his steer. And I'm looking at little Junior Herzog straight on, and
use names.
Why? They don't care. And I'm looking at him straight on, and he is not anymore listening, paying attention, nothing. And his father is exactly right. He was telling him what he had to do on how to set up this calf and what all this other stuff and whatever. And so Kevin walks off, and so I walk up to Junior and I say the exact same thing that his father said to him a minute before. And you know, he's like, "Oh, Ryan, I got it. I promise. I can do that." And yep, you're right. And I said nothing different than what his father said to him a minute late before I did. And it's just how it is.
I'm gonna predict that he didn't even acknowledge his father.
No, he did not. I'm telling you, he did not. Just
you know how I know this? I have this youngest daughter of mine. Her name would be Katie, and we can throw her right under the bus. She needs a little bit of that. If we just came back from Illinois State, it doesn't matter what show we go to, Ryan. I promise you, I'm trying to guide her what she needs to do different in the ring. Do you want to know how much she listens? None. If you tell her, she's going to listen. If somebody else tells her, she's going to listen. I doubt that maybe she listens, but she darn sure pretends not to if I'm the one telling her.
No, and
I do not understand that.
It is universal. It is not, and I know it because I was the same way, and whatever
but
it
why?
is.
How?
I did that. I don't know. That I can't answer. That I cannot answer.
And
I can tell you why I didn't listen to Cherie, because she's crazy. But other than that, I mean,
I have to defend Cherie. She did everything with the best interest in mind. I don't know
not
that
mentally stable, but yeah. So,
my parents gave me a lot of independence, a lot of responsibility, a lot of freedom at a very young age, and did not tell me A, B, and C often. So I can't say that I ignored anything that they said that I remember. I'm sure I did. But Ryan is dead on here and has cited an example or a couple of them there that are absolute. And if we accomplish nothing else today, those of you listening, youth, that is, I promise you, and I understand you don't want to listen to your parents, and I understand you probably still won't after this, but if we can get through to just one of you, I promise you the guidance that they're giving you, it's probably for the best. Not always. Maybe in Ryan's case, it wasn't always perfect, but I'm positive that the intent is correct and they're trying to guide you down a good path. I'm going to use something very, very simple. We have our children, Ryan. I think you've been involved in this. They threatened me, Chase or Katie, I don't know which one, to report us to the Employee Work Law Association or whatever. Basically, child labor is what they're accusing us of in a sarcastic.
I think that was my idea.
I think it might have been. So our children are expected to do chores. They're expected to help not just with their animals, but with the operation in general, whether it be with the cattle, with the exotic cats, with the goats, something in the office or house chores, whatever it may be. They are expected to take part in that. And I remember when they were fairly young, and I don't know, this probably wasn't Chase, probably Katie, making a comment that, well, there's a lot of other kids her age that go home after school and they don't have to do anything. They don't have to get up early. They go to school and that's really all that they have to do. And unfortunately, there are kids in that situation where there is nothing else for them to do. So those of you out there that are living this stock show life, whether you're showing animals, you live on a farm, whatever it may be, you already have a huge advantage because I guarantee you, your parents are getting you involved and you're expected to go out and at least do the chores with your animals. And I know you think it's a pain in the butt, especially if you have to get up early before you go to school. If you've got a steer in the cooler over the summer, you're putting that calf in at 5 a.m. and kicking it out at 11 p.m. That's a challenge. That taxes your sleep. It taxes your time. It does a lot of things. But I promise you, no matter what those of you out there think, how much of a pain in the butt it is to have to work and contribute on the farm after school, before school, on the weekends, whatever it may be, you have a huge advantage on the rest of the world from a sense that you've already developed some of that work ethic. You're developing personal responsibility. The same things, Ryan, that we talk about out there when we're explaining all the benefits of showing livestock. And I don't know how to explain it any better other than appreciate the fact that you have these opportunities. And I feel bad for a lot of those kids that don't have those opportunities. I think they can go into another direction, maybe compete on a sports team, and that's going to help tremendously because they have to commit a certain amount of time. And there's a lot of things that can be very positive out of that. But this stock show lifestyle that so many of our listeners are raising their kids in, it is huge. And you hear it all the time. And I just sat down and thought a little more about my children and their contemporaries, not just in their school, but across the country.
Yeah, but your kids at your school are weird.
A lot of them they just don't have those kind of opportunities. And
like the things Katie and Chase and you tell me, like there's something wrong with the people around you. I'm just being real honest.
There's always a chance of that. I don't know.
Again, on this topic or whatever, I think that while kids that show livestock primarily do all the things that they're supposed to, they may, gripe and complain a little bit, but they still do it. It's not like they have a gun held to their head and all that. But I think one thing that you don't ever realize until you get out, and it's not like you figure this out when you're in college. You got to get out from it. what all of this does, and it's whether you're getting up to put the steer in the cooler or exercise the pig or, put the sheep on the treadmill, all of these things that you do all day long. And it's not just one thing, it's 6 to 8 hours in the barn each day. And we do all this, and it for the goal is so we can try to be successful in the show ring or accomplish what goal it is that we have there. And while, yes, team athletics, sports, all of those things, debate, drama club, all those things are wonderful. What you get from this more than anything else, even though you don't know it, is, and now it's more prevalent than ever, is you are taught and you are molded that you should desire, want to, and have drive to achieve individual success. Yourself. That's something that you don't get in a team sport. You may win as a team, but everybody has to work together. When you are in the workplace, whether you get a promotion or you get a new title or you advance up, you get a raise, all of those things are going to be because of individual successes that you have made happen for whoever you're working for. And that is invaluable in this, that these kids are just raised with that. It's second nature to them. It's not like these other kids. Well, it's okay to be a winner, little Johnny. Not everybody gets a participation trophy, whatever. It is literally second nature to them. They know it, they understand it. And I think that is truly what makes Showing Livestock the unspoken hero of ways to raise your children.
Absolutely. And I want to take from that, Ryan, you get outside of our little area, the stock show world. And I can take this from example of my kids, and hopefully they're not going to listen to this one. There are segments in our education system that there is a negative connotation placed onto winning.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that
it's not just you, it's everywhere.
It is terrible.
It is insane.
And all a big push, even through, and I'm going to just throw it out there, even through 4-H and FFA, this participation aspect of it, that everybody wins, it's gone too far.
It is not the real world. Everybody is not a winner in the real world. It's not.
And some kids are born with a competitive spirit. Some have to grow into a competitive spirit. Some may never have either, not born with it, never grow into it. And if you intentionally try to demonize winning, how would you ever expect them to be competitive in the real world?
That is the thing. And again, that's why I brought this up. I know children that don't do this or whatever. And I know people my age that have kids that don't show livestock and all this other stuff. And they don't think winning is a good thing. And they think that everybody should be the same and, let's all be on the same level and all this other bullshit and crap. And that doesn't work. It does not work. And
it's become cultural, and it's a bad direction.
And again, you should never, ever be ashamed of accomplishing something or winning something or, standing out, being recognized, all of those things. And more times than not in this society, we, in this group of livestock show people, we know that, we understand that, we accept that, we go for that. We're in the minority, not the majority anymore.
No, you're absolutely correct. And there was a time that more were on this page.
Yep.
But not right now. And I want to go into, I'm going to take this another direction. And it's going to be some things that are very general, but simple. And Ryan and I have talked about this, I know in private, maybe even on the podcast at some point. So and again, I could go on about the competitive nature and how it's we could go on forever about that, but hopefully you understand that. Ryan, there's one thing, and I had a friend of mine in the office today, and he says, I can tell when I'm in Texas or I'm outside of Texas or up here in the north just by talking to the kids. Do you want to tell me what the difference is?
I hope it was an accent.
It was not. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir.
Yep.
And I'm not just saying Texas, most of the South. I probably should clarify that just a little bit. And guys, I'm going to go just back to being polite and manners. And just as Ryan said, we've lost, or sometimes the competitive nature in winning is demonized for some reason. And I could be wrong. I think the younger generation, we're losing the benefits of manners and being polite and how far that can help you in life. This seems simple, stupid, guys. I'm going to use an example of my younger two children, and my wife and I have raised them to address adults, or for the most part, anyone other than their other friends, as yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. And they do that at school. And Ryan said there's something funny about our school. Well, this is probably not just their school. I don't doubt it would probably happen elsewhere. There are a few individual teachers over the course of the past few years that when Chase or Katie has addressed them as ma'am or sir, were borderline offended.
They get pissed.
And we're told to not use that. Do not address them in that manner. And that blows my mind. When they come home and tell me about it, I explain to them, you continue to address them in that manner. And if you get in trouble for it, I'd love to see that slip. You're being punished for having good manners.
Right.
It's just incredible to me.
Like I said, I judged show today, and I bet half or more of the kids is like, how are you today, ma'am? How are you, sir? When I was talking to them, that I was just raised that it does not matter who you are, age, anything. That is what you were brought up to say. And now it seems like you were saying, people get offended by it. Like, I will say, well, hello, ma'am, or all this other stuff. And like, the woman's like, I'm not old enough I'm not a ma'am. That makes me sound old. Well, I get that. Okay, I can handle that. But there is a growing group of people that find it offensive, and I do not understand it. Like, I just don't know any other way to address people.
And you and I are probably biased on this. We surely are. I hope not. But when a person comes up to me, a child or a stock show kid, and they say something about yes, sir, or no, sir, doesn't that give you a pretty good first impression of that kid?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I have no problem with someone but like, if you are an exhibitor out there, I'm just going to give you a little friendly free advice. If you're an exhibitor and you are going to address someone, it doesn't mean just to judge. We're talking an adult. Mr. Rash, Mrs. Hummel, yes, sir, no, ma'am. That's the minimum that you need to do. I mean, that should be baked in the cake. And I can't, and again, I'm not calling anybody out, but it really has shocked me over the last couple of years how many kids will just not do that at all. Like, I'm just like, how is that possible? And I'm not talking about just stock show kids. I'm not, most of them do. I'm talking about like just regular kids that you meet in the store or something, whatever. It's just crazy to me.
No. And I young listeners, please listen. This is you can turn this into your advantage. There's fewer people that are using proper manners today than there ever has been. And if you're one of those, that sets you that much further apart in a good way. And I also want to acknowledge the young people in the North and the parents that are listening that maybe haven't had their kids address others in this manner. I understand it's not normal up here. It's perfectly accepted not to do it. Just like I talked about my kids, they're almost the abnormal by using ma'am or sir. And I understand that. And I'm not saying that you have to do it. And maybe Ryan and I are completely wrong. But I do believe there's a large segment of the population that would find that being very respectful. Now, as I gave you evidence earlier, sometimes it doesn't. So maybe it's a little bit geographical, Ryan. I think up in the North where we're at, I don't know that there's any negative to not using it, but I still hope there's a positive for using it. Where if I'm in Texas and I have I'm visiting with a stock show kid and they do not address me as sir, and I'm not saying that I don't need that. I just appreciate that the respect that they're showing. It is unusual, is what I'm going to say. There's not many Texas youth that I've interacted with, or Mississippi, or some of the other southern states that did not do that. Where if you are there and you don't do it, I think it almost stands out more.
No, I agree. And I don't think there's any replacement for good manners. I just don't. And
not just ma'am or sir, please and thank you.
Yeah. Opening the door for someone. Yes. I mean, just little bitty things like that. And I don't think, and I could say this for adults too. I don't think people realize how much of an impression things like that make. And maybe it's not when you do it, but it's when you don't do it.
Agreed.
And things like that do make very, very big impressions. And then again, talking about all this, and I get really wrapped up in a whole lot of this because I say a lot of times it shows, not every single kid that ever hits an arena is going to be in a position to have the grand champion, whatever. But if they will take what they have learned in terms of the drive, the dedication, the goal setting, the self-improvement, all of these things that they learn that they may not even know they're learning right now. But these are going to be attributes that they're going to have. And if they will take that and use the connections that they have met through this livestock showing process, because those people that you meet in this deal, if you ever call on them and they can help you in some way, they're going to.
Absolutely. That's simple and it's real.
So if you take all this stuff that you learn and you use these connections that you've made and you apply it to what you are truly passionate about and what sets your heart on fire, and it may not have anything to do with livestock, but you will know what it's like to be a grand champion in the game of life. And that is what is the important part of being raised in the junior livestock show industry to me.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm going to go back into some of those things that I think our youth have heard from their parents. And I'm going to go through some of these fairly quick because we're going to get long and I have a lot of them on my mind. Ryan, one of them is when you, and you would be the best example of this. I worry as I observe junior high and high school kids, even into college, that too many of them are not thinking for themselves or just following others. And those that decide to think for themselves, and maybe it's different, more times than not, it's going to be different and do their own thing, those become the future leaders, not the ones that are in the group following everybody else.
Yeah, don't be a sheep.
Do not. And you're you are the glowing example of that. I do things that people would call crazy because of, I guess, when you talk about thinking outside the box from a business perspective, but these are all things that I have found success with. Ryan has found success with. And I know it's easy to follow the group because you don't want to bring attention to yourself. Maybe you're a little shy, a little bashful, whatever it may be. You don't want to be different. It's okay to be different. I at the same time, I watch individuals dye their hair or have piercings or whatever. And I'm sure that they're very happy with it. And all that's fine. They can do whatever they want. Don't do things like that to be different necessarily. If you that you like it, no, that's all fine. When I say do things to be different, if there's a path that you want to take because you believe it's you and it's going to better yourself and you're more true to yourself, take that path. I promise you will get more respect in the long run, and you will become one of those future leaders by not being afraid to step outside the crowd.
Yeah, and I think that's important because, again, groupthink and being just like everybody else, all of that's way too complacent and commonplace in our society. And you've got, if you're going to be successful, no matter what it is, you've got to be willing to stand out from the crowd.
Think for yourself and take the path you believe is right, not what 90% of them are taking. Okay. Another thing, and this is something you've already brought up, Ryan, many times, and we have to address it on this one. Stock Show kids, please listen. And Ryan's already talked about this. I know I've talked about this before. You have to be so conscious of what you put out on social media right now. You better assume that a future employer is going to see that, a future in-law, a future roommate, a future anybody. And if that's not the image you want, do not put it out there. Just don't. And it's happening quite a bit. And I promise you, as an employer, the first thing I do when I have a resume come across my desk is I'm going to research that person. And social media is the best place. I can garner more from social media than I can the resume sometimes.
Easy.
So be smart about it. I'm not saying
because you can lie on a resume. What you put on social media, there is no lying about. That you put it up there.
There is. It just is what it is, guys. And I understand Snapchat goes away and things like that. But there's some social media that, well, no, the screenshots don't. But there's social media that's pretty easy to access, guys. So just be smart about that. The other thing, as an employer, as a parent, as just a person that observes youth that are in jobs across the country, please do your best to put your phone down. Let's not finish a task and grab our phone instead of moving on to the next task. This sounds maybe simple, stupid, but there's such a draw to getting a hold of that phone. I promise you, an employer is not going to be real excited about you being on the phone when they're paying you to do a certain task. So I'm going to take it just a little bit further. If you're working for your parents, for the livestock operation, for the farming operation, for a restaurant, whatever job you may be in, here's something that will definitely set you apart. Please do your best. Do what you're told to do. Perform the task you're told to perform. And especially of those of you that are working at home, you know what needs to be done. Sometimes just step up and do that without having to be told to do so. When you finish a task, instead of jumping on your phone and you're not sure what to do next, ask your employer, hey, I've got this done. What do you want me to jump on next? Where 90% of those kids out there, once they're done with something, they're just going to stand around. If they're allowed to get on their phone, I'm sure that's going to happen. Step up, take initiative, see what needs to be done and do it, or do it before you have to be told to do so. And if you're not sure what that is, simply ask. Say, hey, I've finished this. What do you want me to do next? That's simple. That's how it should be. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing that near enough at this point.
No, I'm going to be silent on the whole phone stuff because I sleep with the phone in my hand, but I'm not saying you're wrong.
Okay. What about when
I'm not saying you're wrong, but
when you're judging,
I don't like being a hypocrite.
When you're judging a show, that phone doesn't come out until you're between shows or between.
No, it goes in the bag. And no, I am a stickler on that because it literally drives me insane to see a judge checking their phone or texting or whatever. And again, it nothing is probably happening that has anything to do with that show. But it is the perception of it all. So no, the phone is in the bag until we're
opening the door for many, many rumors.
Right. We are till we are on a break or whatever else. But yeah, so no, I get it. And I'm not saying you're wrong at all. I just have a very healthy relationship with both of my phones.
Yes,
Very
you do.
healthy.
You absolutely do. Another thing, guys, as simple as this, maybe your show animals have you finish your state fair and they're gone. So you don't have those to take care of. What about just doing the simple things around the house, taking the trash out without being told to? If everybody just finished dinner, jump up and help put the dishes away or clean up. Simple things, kids. I know that you don't understand the impact these things have. And if you can start with those little steps by doing those things and continue that throughout your life, I promise you, you're going to be appreciated by more people and it's going to make for a better life. And it doesn't take that much effort or that much energy to do some of these simple things. And it just is. It's very, very easy to do. I want to address one more thing, Ryan. You will be perfect for this. Perfect.
I try to be perfect. I'm not
One of the biggest issues that I notice, or one of the most traumatic things that happens to some of our stock show youth at that age, junior high, high school, even early college, we need to somehow, and parents try to deal with it in many different ways. I promise you, those of you listening, 90% plus of your relationships that you're in high school and maybe even into college, we could push it that far probably, will come to an end, and it will feel terrible and you will think your world is over. This is all part of that growing up process and allowing you to decide what makes you happy. But I can't tell you how many times as a parent, as a friend to other families and other parents, when I see a breakup happen to somebody in high school and all of a sudden they think their world is finished. It's over. They're never going to get past this. It happens every day, guys.
that
And
happens.
it does happen. Yes,
Are you
it
sure?
does happen. And it's going to continue to happen. My children are going to they've experienced it, all four of them, both directions. Katie's a little more the other way where she tends to be
Look,
the one
I
that-
told Chase that girl wasn't for him, so he just needs to get over it.
Chase is doing great. Chase is good. Katie is just come off a state fair, and I guess it's called talking, right, Ryan? Is that the new
Yes,
dating?
talking.
I don't know how many boys she may be talking to, but it's
A
more than
lot when you look
more-
like Katie Hummel does.
more than a parent would like. How's that?
Yeah.
And she will have a
I-
relationship with some, and it will end.
I cannot relate to this at all. I'm just gonna. I mean, I know you're right. I'm not. Again, I know you're right because I've seen this happen to children that I help and all this other stuff. And again, I just want to slap them in the head, and because
Because you have no concept.
I have no concept of this whatsoever at all. And so, like, yeah. And so
You-
I
you-
was
It's
that's why the parents like really, really liked me, because when this shit would happen, I would literally be like, what in the hell is wrong with you? Like,
this is not an issue.
yeah, I'm like, seriously? We're here to win a steer show. I could care less about your girlfriend. All right. Like, let's go. But so I understand it. I do know it happens. But again, all of those, in all seriousness, all of those relationships, I mean, it happens in friendships too, not just romantics, all this romanticals, whatever. All of those relationships that happen and end, whether they're friends, romance, etc., that all happens for a reason. And what you need to do is learn from those things. You can find something that you learn from every single relationship that you have, whether it lasts 100 years or 100 days. You can learn something from all of those relationships that will ultimately make you a more considerate, caring, well-rounded person.
Absolutely. And you brought up something that we need to hit on just a touch further. You're right, Ryan. It's not just the romantic relationships. Think about those 2 or 3 or 4 girls that get into a clique in junior high and they keep that going through high school. And all of a sudden, for some reason, one of them, a boy, yeah, one of them is no longer welcome. That is probably more traumatic than the romantic breakup.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a big deal, and it happens to a lot of kids. Guys, remember we talked about not following the crowd? Don't be a sheep. Walk your own path. That's part of it. And I promise you, that you're going to be better off and be a better person, a stronger person, and more likely a leader moving into the future. So it just is. The last one that I have, Ryan, and then I want to make a comment about the part 2 that we're going to discuss just a little bit. We have Ryan, I'm going to admit this to you. I attended more than one party when I was in high school.
No, I attended about 3,000, but anyway.
Okay. So those of you listening, high school age, even into college age, I guess you could take it.
Oh, there was like 5,000 in college. We don't need to talk about college.
I did things that were stupid. I took things way too far from an alcohol standpoint. Part of the reason that my liver is not functioning well today is because of my college days. I promise you that if you could take a step back later in life and look at that, or be observant of what's going on around you and not in the moment, your ability to go out and have fun, drink, party, enjoy life, all those things, but don't take it to the extreme where you're doing the really stupid things that everybody else is laughing about, you will be much, much better off and much more well respected.
Don't be the person that's getting Snapchatted at the party. Okay, that's the best way to sum it up. And be the Snapchatter, not the Snapchat star.
And Ryan and I would never tell you not to go have fun or not to go to that party.
No, because I would be a hypocrite.
Yes,
the most.
And I was. If there were Snapchat in my college days, Ryan, I unfortunately.
If there had been Snapchat in my college days, Chris Skaggs would have had a heart attack by now. I'm just telling you.
I don't doubt that.
Dr. Skaggs would not have made it. He would not.
Those of you that in college is just getting started, those of you out there, have fun, have a great time, but think about it and be smart and put yourself in a position to not be the person that's getting Snapchatted. That's a good way to put it for you, Ryan.
There you go.
So with all this, and we're running a little bit long, everything that we're saying here, if there's one other thing, and we know that your parents are already telling you a lot of these things, and we know that you don't listen, hopefully you'll take, if you just take one piece of advice that we threw in here today, that's a success. Our time was well spent. It all comes back. Everything that we've talked about, for the most part, all leads to one thing, and that is to be a likable person, or put yourself out there as a likable person that is going to have more opportunity to succeed in life. And not being that person on Snapchat, not being the person that follows everybody else and doesn't separate yourself at all, not being that person that throws yourself into your bedroom for 2 months because you just broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or that clique just pushed you out. Guys, we can do better. Be strong, be independent, think for yourself a little bit. We're going to talk about in a second episode, Ryan, in the show ring, how to be liked by the judge. Is that a simple way to put it?
Yeah, again, I thought that you were always afraid that we're not going to have enough content and whatever, and there's always too long.
We're long.
But like the second part of this, just for kids thing, I think that there are lots of things that kids can do to get them noticed in a positive way by a judge before they ever show. And again, it is things so simple that you won't even realize it. But I'm telling you, I noticed them. Dale, when I bring them up, Dale says that he noticed them. I talked to there are things that you can do. And again, as competitive as this still is right now, you need every single advantage you can get. And so that's what we're going to talk about on the second part of Just for Kids next week.
Excellent. And it'll be good, guys. And I think you need to hear it, because it makes, I'm not saying it should make an impact. I'm not saying it's going to make an absolute decision that you're going to go from last place to first place or anything like that. But I'm telling you, there are things that you can do that Ryan is going to bring up, and he's so good at it, that will get that judge to give you the benefit of the doubt, if at all possible. With that, Ryan, do you have a sponsor before we go into questions?
Oh, yes. We would like to thank Basic Animal Health for bringing us the question and answer portion of this podcast. And Basic Animal Health is also one of the BTRJLA sponsors. Right now they are developing new products, but they have 3 products on the market: Show Focus, Trailer Ride, and Gut Health. And if you go to www.basicanimalhealth.com, when you go to the checkout after purchasing any of those products, if you use the code BTRJLA, we will get a portion of the proceeds. So thank you, Basic Animal Health, for your support.
Thank you. It is much appreciated. Ryan, the first question's long, very long. I'm going to condense it here as I read it. So it may take me just a minute to get through it completely. This one comes from Wendy, and I'm chopping some out, Wendy. I apologize. The last 3 years we've purchased lambs, but we have yet to find a helpful breeder. We live in a small community, and we have patronized both our local breeders. Most recently, we purchased a lamb online. Before the sale, they were all very responsive, but after that, crickets. My daughter has won multiple showmanship awards, has now aged out of the junior division. Though she still has a few more years to compete at the larger shows, I'm looking for a smaller breeder with good quality animals that want to participate after the sale. I can't afford a ton, but there's got to be a way to become more competitive without breaking the bank. So I'm seeking any recommendations or advice you may have in finding a breeder on the eastern portion of the U.S. that will provide support after we purchase the sheep. Thank you for your time. I don't think you can give her a name, obviously.
And I wouldn't know a name. I'm just being real honest because, again, but I understand her predicament. I think that service after the sale is probably one of those things that really distinguishes a huge difference in many, many, many facets. Because, again, you can start with the best one in the world, but unless you feed it and exercise it and do all the little things, whatever, it's not going to matter in the end. And you've got to have other people help and guide you along the path. So I do think that she has a very valid concern in terms of finding someone that is excellent in terms of service after the sale. And I'm not to brag about Dale, but I think he goes above and beyond in that area for his customers. She's talking about sheep and on the East Coast. And so, again, Dale's not your guy. I think the best thing that you can do is go up to at these shows that you attend with your daughter. Talk to the people that are winning. Where do they get their stuff from? Ask them about their experiences with different breeders and stuff. And then, again, if you find one or you hear about one, contact them, see what the vibe's like, and hopefully you'll have better luck.
No, I think that's good, Ryan. And you know what? We did the episode last week on Do Your Research. I think that there's maybe not enough of this, Wendy. There's not enough communication that the show parents or the show kids are going out and asking other exhibitors, hey, what was your experience with this person or that person? And find out. I mean, that's your best resource. They're living it. So go do that. Ryan, I think back when you were brokering steers. I mean, did you not basically hold the hand of those families?
Oh, Jesus. Kids? I was the most involved, probably more involved than they ever wanted me to be.
To the point where I'm sure you were a pain in the ass.
Annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you're gonna give them everything that you would do yourself. Period.
Oh, yeah. No,
and expect it done as well.
And make sure it was done. Yeah.
And it's not always going to be easy, and it probably wasn't always great to have to explain it, but that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hopefully that helps, Wendy. I know we didn't give you a name, and I don't have a specific name that I can give you either, but I would strongly recommend just visiting with as many people as you can and try to take some of their guidance on breeders that they've had good experiences with. Bryson gives us the next question. Hello, Dale and Ryan. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I would like to know your thoughts.
I did not earlier. I'm not going to lie. It was hotter than hell. But anyway, next.
I would like to know your thoughts on politics having to do with judges' decisions at state fairs and major shows. I think we've addressed this.
We've had a topic about politics in the show ring. And again, we kind of addressed it last week too. It is there, and again, I'm not gonna say it's not there. It happens. We've seen it. We've all seen it. We know about it, but again, it goes back to the fact that, and I know I keep beating a dead horse on this thing, but
sometimes people need to hear it more than once.
I don't think it is possible for the people, whether it is a singular person or a committee of people, to get the full extent of who might be connected, who is able to leave those connections when they hit the gate, and who's not, or who is just flat setting up shit to win, because that happens too, people. I think it is probably very, very hard for most people to understand that and see that and realize it. But the people that are out there in the trenches doing this day to day, showing after show after show, they know. That's your best resource. Give them a say in who is judging and who gets to judge, because they know what it is. Then they know who's political and they know who's not. And they know who they can get a fair shake under and who they can't. And that's who you're supposed to be pleasing anyway.
And if those exhibitors don't have a say, which in a lot of situations they don't, vote by not going or attending the ones that you do think you're getting a fair shot at. That's maybe what it comes down to.
Yep.
So yeah, it's out there. It's real. It happens. Just need to address it and do better. This next one's from Anonymous, and it kind of falls right into the same path, I think, of what we just covered. This one's directed specifically to you, Ryan.
Oh, boy.
In another podcast episode, I heard you refer to a formula that they use to select judges for major shows. While I can pick up some of the trends, I'd love to hear some detail on how you described this formula. Love the podcast. I don't remember
ever saying there's a formula about.
No, because I would go to the opposite of that.
Yeah, I don't think there is a formula at all.
It's a wild card.
But I can tell you in terms of just I don't know about Kansas City, Louisville, and Denver and Phoenix, how they go about it. I know that a lot of those, in terms of like the breeding heifer shows, the breed sends judges and then they decide and stuff like that. In terms of Texas majors, in terms of market shows, there is a committee called the Animal Industries Committee, and that's made up of 4-H or county agents and ag teachers, and they submit a list of names for every single breeding and market deal, list of 3 names for every major show in Texas, from our state fair all the way through, and they send those to the shows. And then the show, some of them go exactly by that list and some of them don't. But in the end, it is up to the individual major shows to make those decisions. But we do have an Animal Industries Committee that makes suggestions. And I will say that every show does look at that list and consider it. And some of them go exactly by it, some of them don't. But I think probably a lot of, and Dale brought this up last week, once you get one of those, to be honest, whether you do a good job or a bad job, you're going to get another one. It just is what it is. I mean, once you get in there, you're in that clique, and that's how it happens. But I think that a lot of it has to do with making a name for yourself at judging smaller events like jackpot shows and regional fairs or even state fairs. And, also a lot comes from knowing who to talk to and say, hey, put me in, coach, etc.
No, agree completely. And that's a tough one. And again, I don't know that it's a perfect world, but I think when we at least bring it out there and we discuss it more, it's going to get better. It's going to continue to grow. And we're going to continue to have better and better shows. It's great. Well, Ryan, I'm looking forward to Kids Only Part 2 and addressing specifically the show ring, because I think it's going to be good. And I think these are some things that have maybe always been noticed by judges, but never talked about. So it'll be good. I'm excited. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?